Hi, I'm Clay Colville, and this is World News. Our breaking news story today is the USS Maine, one of the first American battleships. The Maine weighed more than 6,000 tons and was built at a cost of more than $2 million. Ostensibly, on a friendly visit, the Maine had been sent to Cuba to protect the interests of Americans thereafter a rebellion against Spanish rule broke out in Havana in January. We are now receiving word that the ship just exploded in Cuba's Havana harbor. We will now cut to our reporter on the ground, Ian.
Hi, I'm Ian Regal, and I'm here with a person of interest with the USS Maine. Sir, can you tell us what your name is and something about you?
Well, my name is James Lester. Nice to meet you. I'm from Houston, Texas, Drip City. Back home, I was an AP US history teacher, as well as a soccer coach at Strict Jesuit College Preparatory. I have two twin sons, both born recently. I decided to join the military because I wanted to defend my country.
Honorable service. Can you tell me why you're here in Havana?
My unit was deployed on the USS Maine. As you can probably tell by now, I'm a member of the United States Navy, and we had occupied the harbor because we were sent to protect U.S. interests in Cuba during this revolt against the Spanish that they're doing right now.
Can you describe what happened?
Okay, so I had just fallen asleep. It was about 11:30, and most of the crew was asleep. It was late at night. All the lights were out, and I just heard this loud explosion from the other side of the ship. I didn't realize what was happening, but I ran out of my room along with a couple of my roommates. I walked out to see a majority of the ship on fire, the other side of the ship. I went back and tried to wake up anybody who was still asleep on the side that hadn't been hit, which was my side. And I then proceeded to jump off with a bunch of other crew members off the ship. I had a life jacket on, so I was able to float. And here I am after I swam to shore after. So,
were you hurt in any way?
I think I suffered a couple cracked ribs from the jump, and maybe a couple scratches. But besides that, I came out mostly unscathed. A couple of my friends weren't as lucky.
Were there casualties then?
I can't say for sure, but I really can't imagine that there weren't any deaths though. I know a large majority of the crew didn't make it to shore, so I'd have to say that most of them either didn't make it or they're just still out there.
Who do you think was responsible?
I definitely think the Cubans were responsible. They are extremely violent, and I hope the U.S. punishes them for their actions. Those scoundrels will pay.
Thank you, Logan. And now we'll be interviewing a Cuban civilian. Are you a supporter of Cuban independence?
Sí, the Spanish are terrible. Cuba libre, Cuba libre.
What do you think caused the explosion?
I think all of the problems are probably from Spain, but I do not have the proper evidence.
Do you think the U.S. should fight the Spanish?
War only brings more suffering to my people, but it could lead to independence in the long run, so see!
What do you think would happen if Cuba got its independence?
The people would be happy for once. We would be dancing for the democracy. There would be a party for the whole island.
Earlier, we covered a story concerning the explosion and the sinking of the USS Maine. An official in the U.S. Naval Court of Inquiry ruled in March that the ship was blown up by a mine. Without directly placing the blame on Spain, much of Congress and majority of the American people believed Spain was responsible and called for a declaration of war. Subsequent diplomatic failures to resolve the Maine matter, coupled with the United States' indignation over Spain's brutal suppression of the Cuban Rebellion and continued losses to American investment, led to the outbreak of the Spanish-American War in April of 1898. In 1976, a team of American naval investigators concluded that the Maine explosion was likely caused by a fire that ignited ammunition stocks, not by a Spanish mine or an act of sabotage. Ultimately, the Spanish-American War was caused by the explosion of the USS Maine. Thank you. I'm Clay Colville. This is World News. Good night.